Hello, grade fours. Welcome to another lesson with me today for grade 4 English, first additional language. And this week we are on week 5. Today we'll be looking a little bit at reading and writing. So I hope you are ready for a very busy lesson. So those of you who joined me last week, you'll remember that we did a listening activity where I read a story for you and you listened. So you used your amazing listening skills and you have such wonderful memories, and you used that to help answer the questions based on the story I read to you. And I hope you enjoyed the story. So as I said, today we're going to do some reading and writing. So we're going to look at a poem, but before we do that, I want to explain what makes a poem. Then we're going to read through a poem together, and then we're going to answer some questions. So when we have a poem, it's quite easy to spot a poem, because I think the most obvious thing is that a poem has got rhyming words. But if you look at a poem as well, you'll see that it uses the same syllables, because syllables help to create a rhythm or a beat. So it's easy to break up a word into syllables if you clap out the word to try and hear the syllables. Or another trick you can also do is a trick I learned from one of my teacher friends, is if you put your hand and you rest it under your chin, and as you say the word, every time your chin moves down, that's a syllable. So we will practice both of those to see which one you prefer. So if I look at the word cat, so put your hand under your chin and say the word cat. So how many times does your mouth move down? So it's only once. And if I clap the word out, I say cat. So I do it once. So it's one syllable. Now if I look at garden, so again, if you place your hand under your chin and you say the word garden, your chin moves down twice. And if I break it up with my claps, I say garden. It's 2 syllables. Then if I look at butterfly, so I'm sure you can also hear the syllables as you say the word. So if I place my hand under my chin and I say butterfly, how many times does your chin move down? And how many times do I clap it out? So I say butterfly. So that is 3 syllables. So this is just to show you how words can create a rhythm. So we look for rhyming words and we also look for syllables. So when I look at a poem, I want to see what makes a word rhyme. So it will rhyme when the words sound the same. And they will also rhyme if they have the same syllables. So sometimes they will have the same syllable, but most of the time you might have a word or two that has 1 or 2 syllables more. But as long as the word sounds the same, it will rhyme. So an example I have is twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So that's a very basic nursery rhyme I think we all learn when we are babies. So if I look at those 2 lines, which are my rhyming words? So we're looking at the end words. So we've got star and R. So if you say those two words separately, you can hear they sound the same. Star, R. Now, how many syllables do each of those words have? So if I say it and clap it, it's star. So it's 1. And if I say R, it's R. It's also 1. So it's got a very short beat to it. So remember, when you look for rhyming words, they will always be at the end of a sentence. So the poem we're going to look at today actually comes from your English First Additional Language Rainbow book. And this comes from page 112. So when we look at poems like this one, you'll see it looks like a story. But it's different from a story because remember now it's rhyming. And because it's different from a story, we don't separate it into paragraphs. These things that look like paragraphs actually have a special name. So we call them stanza. So you'll see it's like paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it's stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, and stanza 4. So that's just some extra information for you to learn. So now they want us to read through the poem, and then we're going to look at what the rhyming words are. So I want you to read this with me because I want you to hear what the rhyming words are when you read them. So it says, what do insects look like? An insect has 3 body parts. It needs to have all 3. A head, a thorax, and abdomen. Look closely and you'll see. The head has mouth parts well designed and compound eyes as well. It uses 2 antennae to feel and hear and smell. The thorax is where legs are joined, 3 pairs, 6 legs in all. It also sometimes joins the wings to help them fly and crawl. The abdomen is the next body part. It's where it digests its feeds. It is important for these wonderful bugs to digest the food it needs. So I hope you could hear while I was reading where my rhyming words are. So remember, they won't be at the end of every sentence. But let's look at the first stanza. So what were my 2 rhyming words in that stanza? So we've got 3 and C. So you'll see that parts and abdomen definitely don't rhyme. Doesn't sound the same. Then in stanza 2, where's my next rhyming words? So now I've got well and smell. So again, they sound the same. Then my next stanza number 3. So joined and wings don't rhyme. So the next 2 words I've got are all and crawl. Then in the last stanza, pot and bugs doesn't sound the same, so it can't rhyme. So now I've got feeds and needs. Okay, so that was quite easy to find all our rhyming words. But now we need to look at some questions. So the first activity they want us to do is to use the words from the poem we read to label this insect. So we're using a bee. So we've got compound eyes, wings, antenna, legs or 6 legs, thorax, abdomen, and mouth parts. So you'll see I've got some arrows pointing to the different places, and I want you to decide where each of those parts belong to. So my compound eyes, so compound just means there's lots of little eyes, will go straight down. The wings, I think that's quite easy to spot. It also goes straight down. Now my antenna, where are those going to go? So remember it says it uses them to feel and smell. So it goes there at the top of its head, where those 2 things are coming out of his head. His 6 legs, I think that's quite easy. Goes right to the bottom of my picture. Now I want to see if you know where the difference is between the thorax and the abdomen. So the thorax is the top of his body, so where his head joins to. And then his abdomen, remember that's where they said, or his food digests, just like your abdomen, it's your stomach. Then my last one, the mouth parts. So that's easy, it's where my last arrow goes. And that's normally where they'll find their little pinchers. Okay, so that's just the anatomy of a bug. So all these different little parts. Now let's get into our questions. So the first one, so I'm going to read through all the questions first, and then we'll look at our answers together. So number 1 says, how many body parts does an insect have? Number 2, what does it use its antenna for? Number 3, how many pairs of legs does an insect have? So remember, we're asking for pairs and not the total amount. Number 4, do all bugs have wings? So that's just a yes or a no. And number 5, which part of the body digests the bug's food? So look at the poem on the left-hand side. All the answers come straight from the poem. So for number 1, how many body parts does an insect have? So it tells us right at the top of the poem that an insect has 3. Because remember, it's divided into the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Number 2, what does it use its antenna for? So if you look at the second stanza, it tells us it uses it to feel, hear, and smell. Number 3, how many pairs of legs does an insect have? So remember, I'm asking for the pairs and not how many it has in total. So they have 3 pairs of legs. So they have 6 legs in total, but there's 3 pairs. Number 4, do all bugs have wings? So I think if you look at the picture, you can see that all bugs don't have wings. Some of them just have legs. There are others that are lucky that they can fly and they can crawl. Then number 5, which part of the body digests the bug's food? So I said it's the same as what we've got, where our stomach is. We call it what part? The abdomen. Okay, so now we've gone through 5 of our questions. I think that was quite easy because it was straight from the poem. So now for your homework today. So it's going to be a little bit of a fun one. You are going to write your own poem. So remember, try and have rhyming words at the end, because we want it to rhyme because it's a poem. So I want you to look outside and try to see what insects are around you. So if you are very lucky to have a beautiful garden full of flowers, go and look in your garden, see what insects you have. Are there bees? Are there butterflies? Are there ants? Are there little beetles? So choose one insect and you're going to write your poem about that insect. So when you are writing your poem, I want you to think about the following to help you to write. I want you to think about what they do, what they eat, and what they look like. So you're going to have to study your insect a little bit and see what they do, what they eat, and what they look like. So remember, you're going to write a poem, also what they sound like. So like a cricket makes a very distinct sound, makes it, he rubs his legs together. Sorry, I couldn't make the squeaky sound. So when you are writing your poem, use this layout to help you. So remember, you are writing pairs of sentences that must have rhyming words. That's why you'll see they have the blocks that are the same color. So one sentence must match the next sentence because your rhyming words are going to be at the end. Give your poem a title. So tell me what your poem's name is. So if it's about a butterfly, you can say the beautiful butterfly or the pretty butterfly, or, give it a nice name. So every second sentence must rhyme. So 1 and 2 rhyme together. 3 and 4 rhyme together. 5 and 6, 7 and 8. So that's why you'll see they give you the different colors. So use that layout and you should be able to write a poem quite easily. Then once you've written your poem for me or typed it, remember, I don't mind which way you do it, I want you to please share it with me. So email it to me. I'd love to see how well you can rhyme. Then our next lesson, we're going to do a comprehension. So we're going to read through a different poem and we're going to answer some more questions. So I hope that you do join me tomorrow, because I think writing poems is one of the easiest forms of writing. Enjoy your homework and I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Bye.